Take a look at this little packet. Almost everyone recognizes it, but almost nobody really knows what it is. And honestly, most of us still treat it the exact same way. We see it, throw it away, and never think about it again. But the strange part, it comes with that warning printed right on the packet, "Do not eat." So why is something this common labeled like that? And what would actually happen if you ignored the warning and swallowed one? Let's clear that up, because the answer is more interesting than the label makes it sound, and in one case, it can be genuinely dangerous. The first weird part is that silica gel is not some weird lab-created chemical goo. It comes from silica, also called silicon dioxide, basically the same material as beach sand. Sounds ridiculous, right? The stuff stuck to your feet after a beach trip does not feel like it has anything in common with those dry little beads in a packet. So how do you turn beach sand into those hard, dry gel beads? It all comes down to structure. Silica gel starts with silica, but it gets processed into a material full of tiny pores. Chemically, it is still the same basic substance, but structurally, it becomes something completely different, and that difference is what makes it useful. And the backstory is a lot more interesting than you'd expect. Silica gel was developed in the early 1900s because moisture was a serious industrial problem. Humidity could damage equipment, ruin stored supplies, and quietly destroy valuable materials. What they needed was something simple that could keep moisture under control without leaking or making a mess. And silica gel turned out to be incredibly good at that job. It showed up in military gear and industrial equipment long before it ever ended up in your Amazon box. So no, it wasn't invented as packaging filler or some random extra tossed into the box. It was built to solve a real problem. But honestly, what it can actually do is even stranger than where it came from. Despite the name, silica gel is not gooey, not squishy, and definitely not wet. It's a dry solid made up of little beads. What makes them special is what they look like under a microscope. If you could zoom way in, each bead would look full of tiny holes and tunnels, almost like a sponge. And that's what gives it such a large surface area. In fact, just 1 gram of silica gel can have more than 700 square meters of surface area. That's about the size of 2 tennis courts packed into something that weighs about as much as a paperclip. And here's the important part. It's not soaking up water like a sponge, it absorbs it. Those words sound almost identical, but the difference matters. Absorb means the water goes inside the material. Adsorb means water molecules stick to its surface. In silica gel, moisture from the air clings to all those internal surfaces and then gets pulled deeper into the pore network through capillary action. No pumps, no visible reaction, no dramatic change. It just keeps pulling moisture out of the air. Each bead can hold up to 40% of its own weight in water. Imagine a 200-pound guy carrying 80 extra pounds of water, but still feeling completely dry to the touch. And that's the part most people find surprising. Even when silica gel is loaded with moisture, the packet still feels completely dry. The water is held inside that hidden structure, out of reach of your fingers. That's exactly why it works so well and why it ended up everywhere. Different products, same invisible enemy, moisture. That is what ties all of this together. Think about it. Your chips go stale, protein powder turns into a rock, pills lose their potency, camera lenses fog up inside, metal tools start rusting, and leather shoes grow mold. All totally different products, but they all hate one thing: damp air. That's why silica gel is quietly sitting in shoeboxes, snack packs, medicine bottles, electronics packaging, camera gear, toolkits, pretty much anywhere something needs to stay dry. But the reason most people underestimate silica gel is that moisture damage rarely shows up all at once. When silica gel works, there's no big reveal. You never get the dramatic before and after, because the whole point is to stop the damage before it becomes visible. It is one of those things that only matters when it is missing. Some packets even have color-changing indicator beads so you can actually see when they're full. And here's a pro tip most people miss. You can usually dry them out in the oven or microwave and reuse them again and again. So that packet you automatically throw away, It could have kept protecting your stuff for months. But of course, none of that is the question people click for. The real question is what happens if somebody ignores the label? Alright, now for the question everyone actually wants answered. What happens if you eat one? If you swallow a standard silica gel packet, the most likely outcome is not much. The warning sounds dramatic, but plain silica gel is generally not highly toxic. It's chemically inert, which means it doesn't react with your body, doesn't turn into poison, and usually just passes through. That said, not toxic doesn't mean go for it. The packet itself can be a choking hazard, especially for kids or pets, and that is a big part of why the warning is there. If someone ate a lot of it, it could cause stomach irritation, diarrhea, or other digestive problems. Uncomfortable? Yes. Life-threatening? No. But there is one version you really do not want to mess with. Some silica gel packets use cobalt chloride as a moisture indicator, and unlike plain silica gel, cobalt chloride actually is toxic. So while regular clear silica gel is pretty safe if swallowed by accident, some indicator versions are a different story. That's why the label has to be so blunt. Bottom line, the warning isn't there to scare you for no reason. But for most packets, it's more about choking and irritation than actual poisoning. But here's the twist. Some silica gel packets can actually tell you when they've stopped working. And that little detail opens up a whole nother side of the story most people never even notice. Some silica gel packets are designed to show when they're spent. Those colored beads are not just there to look different, they're humidity indicators. As the packet absorbs moisture, the beads can change color to show that the silica gel is filling up and may not be protecting the product as effectively anymore. And this is where things get more serious. Some of the older blue to pink indicator types used cobalt chloride. That matters because cobalt chloride is not the same thing as plain silica gel. It's a separate chemical used to signal moisture, and unlike regular silica gel, it actually is toxic. That's also why newer indicator systems often use cobalt-free alternatives instead, including some that change from orange to green. So two packets may look similar on the outside, but the one with colored indicator beads may contain a different and more toxic chemical. Which means that little do not eat packet most people ignore is actually a lot more complicated than it looks. So next time you spot one in a shoebox, a snack bag, or a bottle of vitamins, you'll know it's not just random trash. It's a cleverly designed material doing a very specific job in the background. Have you ever actually saved and reused silica gel packets for anything? Let me know in the comments, because I'm curious how many people toss them instantly and how many secretly keep them.